Alright, I'm going to continue my commentary of this book right here. Now then, first of all, we have established that in Galilee they did not have the manpower nor the resources to build sophisticated synagogues like we have churches in the United States today. Furthermore, we've established that the Pharisees themselves were so religious they wouldn't have thought of ever leaving Jerusalem on a regular basis. They would have stayed there most of the time. So what they would do is they would send their understudies to enforce their interpretation of the Torah. Remember, the Pharisees had one interpretation of the Torah, the Sadducees had a different interpretation of the Torah, and the Essenes had a different interpretation of the Torah altogether. So Jesus was coming in there to clarify the correct interpretation of the Torah. Okay? Because none of those three had it right. And Jesus knew this. So he came into Galilee to tell those peasant people, look, none of these three religious sects have it right when it comes to the Torah. They know it, but they're not interpreting it correctly. I've come here to properly interpret the Torah. Okay, now here comes the final problem. The problem is that a lot of people think that Jesus was trying to introduce a new theology, the Christian theology. That's not it. Jesus was trying to correct the interpretation of the Torah. Alright? The only thing that goes beyond that is that Jesus was fulfilling and completing the sacrificial system of the temple. In other words, when Jesus was done, there was not to be any more sacrifices in the temple because Jesus was offering himself as the final sacrifice. So basically, the Christianity that we know today is supposed to be the Jewish theology plus Jesus. That's it. Okay? We're not here to change the Torah. We're here to say that the sacrificial system was satisfied with the sacrifice of Jesus. That's all. The Torah is still very much in effect. Let me tell you something. When you get up into heaven, guess what? The first 10 rules, the first 10 laws that you will see in the law books will be the same 10 laws that were established on Mount Sinai back eons and eons ago. And you know those 7 feasts that they celebrated in Jerusalem? Well, guess what? They're going to be celebrated all over again. We Christians are supposed to be celebrating those things. Jesus celebrated those feasts. Why aren't we? The simple fact of the matter is that the only thing that changed when Jesus came on this earth was that we didn't have to sacrifice anymore. Not those animals anyway. We didn't have to do those animal sacrifices because Jesus stopped that. But that's it. Okay? The rest of the Torah is still very much in effect. Okay? Jesus satisfied the atonement principle, but the rest of it is still very much in effect. There are still no-nos in the Bible, and Jesus said so. And he correctly interpreted the Torah. So Jesus wasn't introducing a new theology. He was correcting the theology of the Pharisees, the Sadducees, and the Essenes, and then ending the sacrificial system that was no longer necessary because Jesus made the final sacrifice. And that's where we get problems with all these denominations. These denominations do not recognize what Jesus really did. Alright. I will tell you more in a future video. Stay tuned.